Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Engine Builder Show. Gabe will be sharing with us today how to uncover the key metrics in your business that lead to revenue growth. Again, thank you, everybody. Happy Friday and enjoy the show. Good morning, everybody.
There was always a ton to learn. Good morning. Happy Friday. Hope you're doing well. And thank you for taking time to tune in to the show here. I'm excited about what I'm going to share because it's something that not only am I actively working on right now in this season of my business, but it's something that I've been able to help a lot of clients, a lot of different entrepreneurs over the years look at these things and figure out what the best path is. And it's been really helpful. And so one of the things that's valuable and helpful in business is if we take time to figure out what are the metrics that we need to measure. It's something that I have not done well with in years past, but it's something now that I'm grateful to say that with the support of my team and with taking time to just really think through things, I've been able to, figure out here are the things that should be measured and here's why. And so I'm going to walk through my mindset on how I do that. And I would encourage you to think about the same things in your business, because if we don't start tracking and measuring, we can get in a position where we're operating only off of our feelings or only off of intuition. And while that can work for short seasons or when you're starting out, or there's different times where that can be effective at some level, it's not a scalable model, and it's not something you can replicate and teach another team member or implement into a department. And just because you have an operational path that works for you, it doesn't mean that you're going to be able to teach that just intuitively to other people. And so externalizing how we think, what we measure, and how we operate is what metrics tracking is about. And so it's definitely something that can help you grow. So the first thing you want to ask yourself is, what result do you want? And that's a great thing to write down in front of you and use, not only for self-definition of like, here's the metrics I want to measure and track, but it's also really helpful to start to use that type of communication because when we say the result that I want, and then we communicate with our team members in that way, they have a really clear target to hit. They know exactly what we're aiming for, and it allows us to communicate clearly. I talk about how to really frame things like that clearly in my book, Atomic Words, which is out now. You can get a copy of it to you next day or in a couple days, where we are in relation to Amazon. And so if you check that out, you can go to atomicwords.com, and that'll help you more on that front. But again, ask yourself, what result do you want? And that's the first question, to be clear about the specific result that you want. Then the thing is, what activities are in your control that will help you achieve that result? And then the third thing is, how do you engineer your routines personally and with your team? How do you engineer daily routines that drive towards that result? And so as we look at that, I'll kind of walk through an example that I'm in the middle of building out right now. And you can probably use it in the same area, or you can use it in a different area. But as you define what result you want, you can only, there's so many different proverbs out there, like, the person who chases two rabbits doesn't catch any of them, is one that always, comes to mind. There's a lot of proverbs and sayings that have been around for hundreds and probably thousands of years at this point that remind us that we can't chase too many things at once. And so I would encourage you to find one or two, maybe maximum three of the primary metrics that you want to track that are going to move the whole business forward, and get those established and do the work to make sure you're getting success and results with those before you add in too many, because too many at once means you'll just be diluting your focus and your efforts. So the result that I want right now, that I'm working on with my team, and then I'll kind of talk through, is I'm looking to have our team quote at least $300,000 of work a month. Because if we do that, it means we're getting in front of the right people, sales activities are working, our marketing is scaling and heading the right direction, and that will allow us to hit our targets for this next season, and then that will increase and change. But with a goal of 300,000 of proposals going out every month, that means I need to do about 75,000 per week or 15,000 per day in quotes. And so now I have a really specific result that I'm looking for. That's where I would encourage you to get from a specificity standpoint so that you can say, here's the result I want. And this is all the specific details. That's what I mean by the result I want. So then once you have that, you can look at what activities are in your control that can move that number forward. So with the reason that I am actually targeting the result that I want is number of proposals going out, because I can control how we quote, the process that we, prospect, the conversations we have, but I don't have direct control of exactly when a prospect is going to buy and become a client. So instead of obsessing about something or trying to estimate or forecast around someone else's decisions and behavior that I don't have full input on, I'm going to forecast and drive behavior and put routines around things that I do have a high amount of control on, of, how many conversations am I going to have that could lead to us providing proposals that would show our prospects how we can serve them and how they can become clients of ours. So in your metric, whatever you're chasing, ask yourself, what activities do I have high control of that can become part of my routine, part of my daily, targets and things that I want to hit? Because that way you can control those things, but you don't stress or obsess about things that are outside of your control, like the weather or like how people are going to respond, or like there's a lot of things that are not in our control, but there's a lot of things that are in our, how we do have high control of the activities, the decisions we make, what we say, our attitude. There's a lot that we can bring to the situation that can be, really effective because it's something that is in our control. So again, like the result that I'm looking for is to quote 300,000 a month in new projects. So I'm going to focus on, that being, I can focus on how much I want to quote every day. And I can also go backwards from, to create a proposal, I need to have, X number of conversations with people that are interested. Right. And so the third thing then is, how do you engineer your day in such a way that you can have routines that you can push those goals forward as a leader in your business, as the entrepreneur? And then how do you design activities with your team and like their daily schedule and routines to follow through that? Because a lot of times we can get clear about the result we want, of like, here's the sales goal, here's the production goal, here's the project we want to hit. But then we just leave it there and we don't break that down and reverse engineer it into time that is spent on a daily basis, because no goal that's important is going to be actually achieved if you don't have some daily touch points and daily, process of moving it forward. So as you evaluate your big goal, the result that you want, then you can decide, what can I control? What are the steps I control? What are the inputs I can control that will allow me to hit that goal? And then how do I take those things that I want to give input on, that I want to, invest in, and how do I put those clearly in my calendar so that I can commit to spending time and working on those things? And so when you start to think through that whole process, that's when you're going to be able to say, okay, is this really a key metric? Is this a result that I want to, that I want to get? And if so, then how do I track it? So in tracking it is, again, coming back to the sales example of 300,000 in quotes, which means 125,000 per week, which means, 75,000 per week, and then 15,000 per working day for business day. That means that I can then say, okay, in order to get to that level, then how many conversations am I going to have every day that will yield me being able to prepare a proposal and share that with a prospect? So I can track two things. I can track my top level metric of how many quotes went out this month, what's the dollar value of those, and then I can track how many conversations have I had each day and each week, because that will allow you to drive towards your metric with a daily, your big goal, your big metric, with a daily kind of activity and daily metrics. And so that's just the thought process that I go through when I'm trying to say, okay, here's something I want to achieve. How am I going to measure that with the Effectric, KPIs on that? And then how do I change my routines? And so if you're not achieving what you want to achieve in business right now, odds are, based on my experience personally, and when I've coached other entrepreneurs and when I've been involved in businesses, odds are you don't have a daily time investment slot, set aside for that. And you don't have daily resources going towards it. So take a look at your daily routine and say, does it really match up to incrementally hitting my big goal? And then also just really think through, what's the actual result that you want? What are the activities that you have high control over that will be good inputs to help you get to that result? And then, how do you engineer your daily routines to get there? Once you do all those things, it's going to be a lot easier to track the key metrics, and you'll be able to actually decide, this is a key metric. This is something that I actually want to measure because it drives my business forward. So hope that's useful to you. If you have any questions about that, definitely reach out. And if you need to have effective, consistent marketing going out, we would love to help you. You can visit businessmarketingengine.com, and I look forward to seeing you on next week's show.